Hey, welcome to the Social 333 podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bentley. Today, my guest is Travis Cormier. Did I nail it?
You got it just right.
Awesome. Perfect. Travis, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
Yeah, I'm Travis. I'm the CEO of 10X Travel. We teach people how to use credit cards to earn points to save on travel. I also have a real estate background. I used to have a real estate business and now own a couple of rentals.
Talk to me about the 10X travel a little bit and talk to the viewers about it. How does that really work?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Open a credit card, spend on it, get the points, take those points, use them to pay for travel.
And do you do like a spreadsheet or is it like a software program or how does it work?
We have a software program to help you manage your portfolio. So that way it makes it just simple, seamless, and easy. Kind of a dashboard gives you all of the information that you need.
I suppose you can also do it with like airplane miles, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's cards that earn points issued by the banks. There's some that issue for airlines, some that issue for hotels. We generally advise people to start with cards that earn the bank's points because you can transfer those out to hotels and airlines.
And how did you really like think about that? Because it's a really good idea. Because for me, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people. It's just we have 20 million things going on, and the last thing we think about is like points and best use of points, stuff like that.
Yeah, I got into it whenever I got engaged, and my wife was still in grad school, and she said, "You plan the honeymoon, and I'd love to go to the Maldives." And then I looked at how expensive it was. And I had heard about people doing this.
Right.
So I finally decided, let's just give it a try. I've got these wedding expenses. Let's see if this is real. And we ended up flying first class round trip, staying 10 nights in one of those like picturesque overwater bungalows.
Oh, yeah.
It would have cost like 30 or 40 grand. We paid about $500.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Off of points?
All off of points.
Wow. Talk to me a little bit about the real estate stuff because that kind of piqued my interest. So you had a real estate company, like a brokerage?
So we were investors. So we did some buy and hold, but most of what we did were flips. And both me and my business partner at the time were both credit card people. So we tried to figure out how to use the expenses that we had from our business to get more value, how to pay our vendors, pay our contractors, buy our supplies with our credit cards. So that way we could get the rewards instead of someone else. And it really let me turn expenses I was already going to have into effectively additional profit. When you're trying to squeeze every single percent out, you've got your P&L, you've got your cash flow, but we kind of called it our like secret P&L because with the right cards, you can get 2 to 5% back, and the IRS treats those as a rebate. So you're not even paying taxes on it. So if by using the credit cards in our real estate business, we were able to effectively squeeze out a little bit of extra margin without really having to do anything.
We did the same thing for Amazon FBA when I was doing it. My buddy turned me on to Amazon FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. I don't do it anymore, but we would do the same thing, and at the same time, I was working at MoneyGram, and it was called manufacturer spending, right? So they had like a fancy name for it, and I won't go into the what transpired with it. I mean, if anybody's really kind of smart, they'll probably figure it out. But we would have people, obviously running up stuff, and I don't want to go into. I kind of want to go into it because, but at the same time, I probably shouldn't. But
a lot of those things are dead now anyway.
Yeah,
so.
Obviously you can go in and like buy a bunch of gift cards and do a bunch of different stuff that way. But what we would do is that we would go out, especially me, like I'd go out and buy $5,000 worth of product, and then turn around and pay that credit card off, and I would probably make, I don't know, let's say make it really simple, like $1,000 off the 5,000, and then I had points, and then I turned those points over into new inventory the next time. So instead of me spending $5,000, I would spend like $4,800, right? Or $200, like I would just kind of do it that way, or I'd just buy more inventory. Um, and we continued to do that over and over and over again. It was great. Like I made a ton of money. I just kept buying more inventory, obviously, because it's easier to sell.
Yeah.
Talk to me how you did it with like the flipping stuff. So you paid like contractors, you bought wood. Like how did that work?
Yeah, basically everything. And if you've flipped houses, you're probably sitting there questioning it because most of your contractors want cash.
Right.
What we did was we used services like Plastic or Melio, which are bill pay services. And you can set it up with your vendor to do ACH. So we pay them and then they would pay the vendor. There's a little bit of a delay, usually a couple of days, but with enough notice on the invoice, you'd get it paid in time. So it's a way to use the credit card to pay your vendor. They do charge a fee, but like it just comes down to doing the math of, well, I know the value I can get for the points, so am I getting a higher return than what I'm paying for the fees? And
go ahead.
Oh yeah, and when our vendors would be going and buying supplies, we would just make a new authorized user on the card, give it to them, and say, just put all of the supplies on here. It helped with some of the bookkeeping too, because like you can set up that card at Home Depot and they'll send you the receipt directly, so we could have some controls over it that way, get the points, and then also just avoid the your contractor saying, oh, we just spent $5,000 on supplies and I need that money now. It's just bypassing them and letting us get all of that.
So how does that work? I see this note here that you can do anything from, or everything from property taxes to federal taxes can be paid with a credit card. Is that really true?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just paid all of my property taxes here in Texas, which is always a bittersweet time of year.
Yeah.
As well as I do, that our property tax rates here are high, but
continuing to climb. Right.
Continuing to climb, yeah. But most of the counties now let you pay directly with a credit card. Again, you pay that little convenience fee. And when it comes to federal taxes, the IRS uses third parties to pay those taxes, and they typically charge around to like 2% fee. So you can just pay those service, and then they just send the payment on to the IRS.
So whenever I get into that like 2% fee thing, that always is like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So really it's the opposite. Like I should be doing that to get the points.
Yeah. And you can leverage it to get even a higher return. Like what a lot of people do is they'll have one card and put everything on that's maybe earning 1 or 2 points. But when you have these big expenses, if you open a new card, they're offering a bonus. So it might offer 60,000 points when you spend $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a 15% return. So I don't know about you. I don't mind paying a 2% fee to get a 15% return.
Mm-hmm. I've had a credit card guy. His name is what was his name? Patrick with Stack Capital, or is this? Yeah, Stack Capital. And I'm one of his clients, and we do. I think I got like 8 credit cards or 12 credit cards through him, and it's some wild stuff. Yesterday, I saw something on TikTok, or not TikTok, Instagram. I don't have TikTok. I saw Instagram, and this guy, and I've seen something similar before. He went on, got two American Express cards, and then turned around and bought like a home under $100,000. Used the cards for the down payment, and then turned around and got a property manager, and he's doing it as a Section 8 rental.
Mm-hmm.
So it's guaranteed money from the government. And there's some caveats because I've dealt with Section 8 before, but it's guaranteed income. And he's talking about how, he like kicks his feet up every day. He doesn't have to work. But I thought it was pretty cool because he just used the credit cards, and those credit cards are 0%.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's going to get the points and stuff, obviously, because you get to pay on them. So it's a really, really great idea. Not for the week though. So like if you go out and charge, a bunch of money that you don't have or you don't anticipate having, you can really get yourself into a really bad situation.
Yeah. And that's something we tell people up front is if you can't manage that debt responsibly, you're losing money on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can be a responsible spender, manage it appropriately, why not get the extra rewards from it?
Talk to me about just the business side of it. Like you got real estate going on, you got this stuff going on. Obviously you have your personal life and stuff like that. So what in business, like what do you really see a lot of people making mistakes either as a real estate flipper or somebody that's, doing like kind of like what you're talking about, not paying the bills, right? But like what do you kind of see as some mistakes or maybe some mistakes that you've made and you've been like, duh, like I should have done better, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest lesson that I think people can fall into is being paralyzed by perfection. When they're so focused on doing things perfectly right that it slows them down and stops that momentum. And when you stop that momentum in the tracks, like, you're getting it back is such a huge struggle. So let that momentum continue. Don't worry about being perfect. Get it good enough. I like to use the term minimally viable everything. Just make it minimally viable for now. You can clean it up, polish it later. But if you worry about getting perfect up front, you don't even know if it's going to work. So by doing the minimal amount possible, testing it, and then building off of what was successful is going to keep that momentum rolling.
I think the biggest thing that I've seen for people flipping and just people getting into real estate in general, and we had a guy that was on the show that he built homes, and we kind of talked about this as well, is that people get into like a love affair with the particular home. And then when they get into the remodel, they get into a love affair with adding the most expensive brass because somebody that's going to buy the home and we're going to sell it for, 20,000 more because it's got expensive brass handles. Or, like it's got, instead of getting the quarter-inch, quartz countertops, they're going to go with the 1-inch granite countertops that are hand cut, and it's just like, well, it's just countertops, A, and then B, you're selling here in Texas, it's like 400 or 500,000 is usually kind of like the median. You're selling a $450,000 home. Like nobody's gonna move in and be like, oh my God, I gotta have it because it's got a 1-inch granite top.
Yeah.
And like I've looked at 30 other homes and they only have a 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
It's just. I mean, have you seen that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, or people looking at every flaw they can find instead of finding just what flaws do I need to fix for the market. New windows are such a big one when that I used to see people do, where they feel like they've got to replace all of the windows, and that's so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I've gone and bought a house, I've not really sat there and looked at the windows or looked at the countertops and pulled out the tape measure. I just looked at it and felt, does this look nice enough?
Mm-hmm.
What does the market in your area demand? And just meet that. You don't have to be the best in your market area. You just have to be the average. And for most people, that's not going over the top.
What kind of mistakes have you made with flipping? I'm sure it's going to be in the beginning of the time, but like I've heard a lot of different horror stories with flipping. Either it be like hard money lending or not hard money or just cash out of pocket. Like what kind of mistakes have you run into?
Thankfully, never one with hard money. We always used hard money and that went fine. The biggest mistake was, like you just said, over improving the property, is trying to feel that you're putting a property on market that is above and beyond, that you're proud of, that is the best of the best in its local area. But people are looking to be in that area for the average typical house. And our worst flip that we did, we over improved. We went about 60,000 over budget. We also overestimated what we thought the ARV was going to be. Thankfully for us, we ended up right at break even. We didn't really lose money, but we didn't make money either, which can feel like a win. But when you consider the opportunity cost of the time that we spent on that property, it all fell apart, especially when you factor in the holding costs. Because if we're doing more work, it's going to take more time. And that's the thing that I think new investors typically don't think about is you've got insurance costs, you've got tax costs, you've got utility costs, all of these hidden holding costs while you're sitting on the property. So the faster you can turn it over, the lower those holding costs are eating into your margin as well.
Talk to me about just, like, are the people that in the 10X business, is it more of like, is it people that are coming to you or people that you're finding or people that buy your services or use your services? Is it more of like people that are uh, coupon clipper kind of situations where they're just trying to like maximize their points? Because that's kind of how I was when I was in a cubicle all day. Like I would sit there and actually be like, okay, well, this credit card will give me this for this amount of, buying, at that time we were buying grocery stuff. So we would be like, okay, well, they're giving us 3%. And then I'd be like, okay. And then the thing that always used to bury me alive was that, you'd Google and look up different stuff. And then I'd find out through somebody else that they got a card with 5%. And I didn't even know that card existed and stuff like that. Is that kind of like how you guys work? Is like you have access to like all the cards, you just know all the different things. It's just more of a spreadsheet kind of deal or a macro.
What I would say is you can go that way, but you don't have to. Like you can 80-20 it and just make it fit within your life. Some people definitely are trying to optimize every single dollar that they spend.
Right.
And especially those people that come from like a couponing background. But you don't have to do that. You can still get the value just spending 10 or 15 minutes a month. Especially for business owners who have 10,000 things going on. If I'm talking to a business owner rather than an individual who's just working a W-2 job, it's different strategies because a business owner doesn't have the time to be managing a large portfolio. It's just looking at maybe their top 2 or 3 expenses and finding 3 or 4 cards to put that on throughout the year. So it's not you're constantly changing cards, you're constantly optimizing. It's just optimize good enough for where most of those expenses are. If you want to go all in, you definitely can, but it doesn't have to be a barrier to entry.
What do you think your biggest mistake was with 10X? Because I can kind of see how, for myself, and I'm not trying to put a knock on anybody, but like I would just honestly would just probably get a little bored.
Yeah.
And we were kind of talking about this. It's kind of been like the flavor of the day of just because I went on this, I'll talk about it again, but like I went on this huge, it snowed here or iced more than snowed, but like I went on this huge Alex Hermosi, like rabbit hole, right? And I watched his interview with Tony Robbins, and then from there, YouTube was like, "Hey, you should watch all these different YouTube videos," and I did, and I learned a lot. He's a very smart guy, but one of the things that I saw was that, and I think entrepreneur, business owner is the same way, is that you get very bored doing the same thing over and over again. And then something shiny shows up, like a podcast, and you start a podcast, right? Or you do something because, quite frankly, you just get bored. And it's the same thing. And we were kind of talking about having like a lot of discipline, right, in business and being able to be like, okay, well, just like working out. I have to go work out. I really don't want to go work out, but, I have to go do something because I can't stay in this health shape or whatever it is, right? And I need to improve my health. So I'm going to go do that, and I'm going to do it over and over again, and I'm going to do it this time, and I'm going to do it every single day, whatever the protocol is or whatever the discipline is. And then after a certain amount of time, you see the results and you're happy with yourself, right? That's usually how it goes. But in reality, you get like 5 days in, 10 days in, 25 days in, 2 hours in, whatever it is, right? And you're like, well, like, you know what? I'm going to go get those free wings, and then I'm going to wash it down with, Dr. Pepper. And then you get like off your track, or you're like, well, I'll call up my friend, Travis, and we'll go hang out. And instead of me working out, I'll sit in this parking lot. I'll call him. We'll go hang out and eat chicken wings and wash it down with Dr. Pepper, and everything will be good, right? With 10X, like, did you kind of come up with any sort of things like that where you just became like, it was really cool and it's like exciting, but at the same time, like it's, like doing the same thing over again, repetition, and now like I'm bored, so I'm going to go into flipping homes or doing something different?
Uh, this has been a really big like growth journey for me. I started off doing this as a freelance contractor. So I've been spoiled by being able to grow from just being a freelancer to editor to COO to now CEO. So it's been about 10-year journey for me.
Wow.
With kind of a lot of exciting changes, but there's definitely like at this point, the thing that is probably the biggest drag is just the fact that it's still a business. Like people hear what we do and they're so excited, but it's still a business, right? There's still accounting and bookkeeping and all of that. Hiring. Right. And instead of letting that be a barrier, I just try to operate it away from myself. Build those systems so you can cleanly hand it off to someone once you've figured it out that it's working, so you can hand it off and move to the next thing. So it's a way to, quite frankly, to delegate that work outside of yourself so your mental energy can be spent on those exciting things and build those boundaries. Like let yourself do that. That's hard. It's hard, especially if you're a smaller business, to set those boundaries. But taking it back to your workout example, I used to be about 340 pounds.
Wow.
And over the past 2 years, I've dropped about 100.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks. And like, there's the discipline part of it, but it was also setting the boundary. I go to the gym at 4:30 every day when I'm home.
Right.
If I'm on the road, I try to go too, but I don't let myself book anything after 4 p.m. So I can't make that excuse. I also picked a gym that's close to my house. So it's not, well, I got to drive 20 minutes anyways. Do I want to? It's a 5-minute bike ride for me. And by forcing myself to show up, even on those days when I didn't want to, because going back to what's the minimally viable everything, sometimes the minimally viable everything was just showing up. I'm not going to get the best workout. Maybe my energy is low. I'm tired. I had a stressful day. Well, the minimally viable everything those days was just showing up. And so by setting these boundaries and systematizing the approach to the things you don't want to do, you can clear that headspace and reduce just the mental energy that has to go into it. So it either becomes routine for you, or it's routine enough that you can just document it and hand it off to someone else to handle.
How does that work with the documenting stuff? Because I run into, we were talking about it earlier, it's kind of like a short order cook, right? Like, so you have like sales on the front burner, you have some other stuff that's problems and stuff on the other burner. And then on the back burner, you got like recruiting, and on the other back burner, you got like accounting and taxes and whatever BS stuff that you got going on, right? And you're like, okay, like I'm doing sales, and you're like, oh, hang on a second, like I got to do this real quick.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's getting burnt back there, and you like flip it back, right? And you start working on that stuff. Like how did you end up doing that?
The first thing I always do is I do what I just call an operational audit. I spend 2 weeks and I just list everything that I'm doing. First, that gives me insight into the immense amount of stuff that I'm doing. Then I evaluate, am I actually good at this? Like, because quite frankly, there's a lot of stuff you're doing that you're not actually good at. You're just doing it because it has to get done. Then what's the value of this to the business? And can I delegate this? Can I outsource this? Can I hire a contractor to do it for me? And that gives a lot of clarity, first, to figuring out what you can delegate. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not good at sales. But there was a time when I was doing it anyways. Then once you've identified it, you've already got an action plan of this item is worth this much to the business. My time is worth this much. And I'm not good at it. So let me document this. And again, we keep it simple. We use this tool called Loom, which is, we're fully remote, and it's just screen recording. Just record the steps to do it. With their AI tools now, it even writes like a draft SOP.
Really?
Yeah. So instead of sitting there taking manual screenshots and trying to make the document look perfect, like I'm guilty of that, what should the header be? What should the sections be? Is that actually adding value? Or can I just spend 10 minutes recording myself doing this once, train someone on it, and they'll probably be able to do 70, 80%. And then I just have to step in to clarify that extra 20%. Couple in that fact that I identified I'm not actually good at this means I'm probably finding someone that's better at it than I am, which means they're probably going to get a better outcome for the business by doing it too.
Is there anything on the horizon for you, like anything that you have coming up, or anything that you like, projects, anything like that?
We're in a really interesting phase of business right now. So from 2001 through 2024, we did 1,300% growth.
Wow.
We were in a hyper growth mode. And that was the first big growth period for our business. And it was fun. It was wild. It was chaotic at times.
Right.
We've exited that. And so we're having to go through this phase of stabilizing the business we currently have. And that's been a big mindset shift for me and for everyone within the organization. You know, we're used to being in this growth period, and now we're having to stabilize, which means now is that time when we can go in, clean things up, start testing a few small things to find what will be the next lever that we can pull to enter that next growth phase. And what I'm really excited about is we're looking to diversify our revenue away from most of our revenue comes through affiliate marketing. So we're looking to launch premium subscription to just add more value to people. Because at the end of the day, like, that's what business is. People give you money because they align with you and they want not just your product or service, but they want your product or service from you. And so if we can deliver product and service to people who want that, and they can get more value and can help contribute to our financial success, and it's a win-win all around. So we're co-mingling. We're kind of trying to do everything all at once, which might fail, and that's okay. Like, if it fails, then it fails. And
Right.
we just focus on that, stabilizing the business we have, while testing this, seeing if this is going to be our next growth lever. And if it's not, we move on to the next thing. But by stabilizing it, we can protect the health of the business to be able to test these things until that aha moment hits and says, that's the thing that's going to give us that growth phase again.
Sometimes what I've found, and I just, again, back to Alex Hormozy stuff, is that we were talking about on the last show, is that you get, at least for me, right? So I get kind of complacent with the people that I've hired. And for whatever reason, those people, and I'm in sales, right? So it's a little bit different, but for me, those people like just end up either burning out, flaming out, get tired, whatever it is. And I kind of put it on like if I was having a basketball team or a football team or something like that. Not so much baseball, but you know, like you would have your bench and you'd be like, okay, well, like Johnny isn't performing, so I got Sally that's coming up, put Sally in, right? Like, and the thing that about me is that I just stopped hiring people because it was really exhausting, A, and then B, like I develop a relationship with people. So when that person leaves, it like actually hurts me because I'm like, oh man, like I spent a lot of time training so-and-so and I really liked so-and-so, and now so-and-so is no longer here. And now I got to train Sally on the same thing that so-and-so was doing, and it gets exhausting. Did you kind of find that as well?
Yeah. I find that those personal connections you build, like not every business is like that, but we're pretty similar. Like we try to build these personal relationships with people, and I'm not in the we're family here,
Right,
but
right.
like we care about each other.
Right.
You know, when people are sick, some people will send them soup.
Right.
And so when you lose that, it hurts, whether it's because they left or you realized that they're not the right person for the business anymore.
Right.
And like, if it's your choice rather than theirs, you're becoming like the evil person in their life story. And that's emotionally and mentally hard to grapple with sometimes. It's still a much worse day for them, but like, don't ignore the fact that that's hard for you.
Right.
One of the ways that I've worked to get around that is by clarifying our organizational chart around seats and responsibilities, especially being a fast growing business, a lot of times when we're hiring, we don't need a full-time role, but we need someone to work full-time, and their job's going to be 60% this, 40% this. And over time, hopefully the 60%, the big stuff we hired them to do, if it's a salesperson, maybe we only have 60% of time for sales and the other 40% is marketing. You're not a marketer, but do good enough in sales, and I can reduce this and justify hiring a marketing person. And by identifying those responsibilities in the seats helps give a little bit of clarity. And we review it every 6 to 12 months because the business is naturally evolving. And that lets us have those conversations of, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Because the seat you evolved into might not be the seat you want to be in. But if people have shown you that they're capable of learning and developing, and honestly, just figuring it out themselves sometimes, when they're burnt out in one seat, you can move them to another seat and still get value, and then just hire to backfill them, or maybe you're swapping seats with people, and it can help keep people happy, to help them develop and grow more. As a leader in an organization, I believe that it's fundamentally your job to get the best results from people that you can. And that comes with developing them so they can provide you with the results that you need and expect from them. And if they're getting burnt out and they're not happy with what they're doing, the typical options are either you leave or we're going to choose for you to leave. But by trying to find where else they can fit in the business and deliver value can give them something fresh and new and exciting. We've got one person on our team who's been with us about 3 years now, and almost every single year moves to a different seat.
Wow.
And that's a combination of the business evolving and having new needs. And they're just a person who's excited to try new stuff. So understanding their personality and how they work and how we can fit that into the business really helps make those transitions and lets us hold on to the people that we know deliver value.
Yeah, it's just definitely a situation where, I don't know, like sometimes, I don't know if it's just a lazy thing or it's a situation where, you become complacent and you're just happy with what you got. And then you don't see the decay of, I don't know, talent or activity or excitement and stuff like that, because you're too busy as a business owner seeing, the front of the ship and not kind of looking at the back of the ship and seeing what's driving the ship forward.
Yeah, it takes a lot of intentionality, and I think that's the hard part, right? Like you said, you're usually so focused at the front of the ship that to turn your head around and look behind you at the people steering the ship, driving the ship, it's not something that can be done passively. You have to make the intentional action to turn back and look at them and ask how they're doing, how they're enjoying it, and doing it with a sense of genuine care for them as people. And it sounds easy, but it's hard.
Right.
It's hard. When you've got all of these issues out here that you're dealing with, it's hard to pause and look back and work with the people that you've got.
I agree. Travis, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, maybe learn more about the 10X travel or just pick your brain about flipping homes, how would they find you? Yeah,
they can find us at 10xtravel.com. If someone's on Facebook, we've got a community of 400,000 plus people talking about this. So they can join our Facebook group, 10X Travel Insiders. They can also find me on LinkedIn. I can send you the link there if they want to reach out and get in contact with me personally. Travis, I appreciate you being on the show. Yeah, thank you. Awesome.